Good morning, folks. Kirk here with Kirk Giordano Plastering. What I'm going to do today is show you some drip screed code requirements. What I have here is we have an existing stucco house, and it doesn't have a drip screed, which is not a big deal. These drip screeds are about 40 years old. The UBC, Uniform Building Code, requires that this be installed on anything after, I believe it's 73. About 40 years we've been, they've been using these. Generally, when you have a house that's stucco here, they would go to the foundation. In 73, they said, no, let's start using drip screeds on everything, and they made it a code requirement. So, if you have something, say like I just got emailed to a fellow, he had a shear wall and it went right down to the existing concrete. He says, well, how do I drip screed it? And I said, well, if you have that originally, you can go with this. You go with a flashing, and then you put a drip on that flashing, and you want a 2-inch ground clearance generally. So the flashing will go on a deck, a roof, or concrete. Then the drip screed will go 2 inches above that. Then you do whatever you're going to do here. The idea is, say if you're going to tile, you want the expansion here. That's on if you have existing plywood, a deck, or a roof. On the ground, it's a different situation. Okay. I looked through all my code books, and I found this one here. It's kind of an old book, but it's an international code requirement. I tell folks, we have been doing it for as long as I've been in the trade, over 25 years, 6 inches above your ground. Technically, according to the code requirement, you want to go this mud sill, or it's called a mud sill or a sill plate. And that just means it's the pressure treated piece of wood that goes on top of the foundation horizontally. The bottom of this should be 6 inches above the ground. Now, they're still going to grade all of this, so when they put once we do the stucco here, this concrete here is going to drop down a foot, and they'll have their 6-inch ground clearance. Now technically, the bottom of the screed here, when I place this guy on here like so, this should be 4 inches above here. We're going to get 6 easy, and I generally do get 6. That's what I prefer. And this right here is called a drip screed or a weep screed. Both mean the same thing, similar to if you're calling a mud sill a sill plate, and that's S-I-L-L, not S-E-A-L. So this has a couple names, this has a couple names, and when I buy this from the material yard, I call it something else, but I don't want to confuse you guys too much. Anyhow, when I tie this existing to this new, I'm going to have my drip screed where it's proper, up to code, and where I tie this in, where it's not up to code, I'm going to go ahead and bring my paper down to the concrete here, and then I'll just tie everything together. I'll show you it as we do it, but at this stage, we're a little ways away. They didn't have the vents, so the homeowner went to get the vents, and I told him, well, gee, you got the vents, and I'll staple them on so that we can continue our process. So that's what we're waiting for. When we get to that stage, we'll show you how to do that. Okay, guys, these vents finally got here, and we had a chance to do all the paper prior to them. So what I'm going to do now is I've installed the one here, and usually the vents are always on a job and installed prior to us getting here. So we're just lifting it up, popping a staple on, and I'm leveling these vents out and using my gun. Generally, these guys will use a 16 penny nail or so and get that, and I'm using this 2x4 as a template so I get a straight edge. But once we get the vents in, then we're going to pull the paper down like so, and this gives us a nice seal around the vents. We'll take our knife, wherever my knife is, and then I'm going to cut around here. That way these are watertight, and I told the homeowner to get the louveler tight. This way, if you don't have these louvelers, the water sometimes just goes through the regular netting and rots out the mud still. So pay a few bucks more and get the louvelers. And again, we'll we'll show you how to cut them out here, and then we're ready to wire it. Pretty simple. Just takes time in. We'll show you that pretty soon. Okay guys, this is just a common sense thing, but I figured I'll show it to you. With a new blade on your utility knife, it works real well. You just follow the patterns of this. You're coming around here and you're going around this guy, just like that. You just follow the patterns of the vent. That way, pull this guy off. That way when we wire this, these are watertight. So we're going to put a bead of caulking around this guy here, and you just follow them around. Because remember, we put these vents in after the paper was done. So we just lift the paper up, install the vents, and cut around them now. Just like that. Take a hammer tacker, go around it, then we're going to put the wire on it. And we are under this Tyvek paper here because they're going to side this, but if water ever goes through that siding, it will go in back of this belly band, on top of this, on top of our 2 layers of papers, and leap out through these holes harmlessly on the foundation where it's designed to do. Okay, the last thing we're going to do is wire this, and I'll even show you guys that part too. Okay guys, we're putting the final touches on this small job. Point out a couple things. When you put your corners on, the corners got to line up to here, and it's also got to line up to where this miter is. That way it's true and close. Another thing is, I say this on most of my videos, use a good polyurethane caulking to go around all the vents, pipes, things of that nature. And going over here on this side, a lot of people always ask me, well, shouldn't we take all these clumps off? Here's a rule. If the clumps don't pass here, they're fine. You can leave them on. And it's not past this wall here, because they can get embedded. But if they're past this, then either pound them down or cut them off. Like I cut a whole bunch of them off that were past this. So anyhow, hope you guys learned something with this. It's a piece of cake for us because we do this every day. My name is Kirk with Kirk Stroud. My son Jason doing the video. And we'll see you guys on the next one. Thanks for watching.